All right, let's get started. Hi, everybody. I'm Laura Temkin-Pisani. I think I know a lot of you by now in various ways. It's nice to see you all. Just a reminder that we're taping tonight. We're recording this session, and you want to make sure that you are on mute and that you use the chat feature for questions. I wanted to let you know that Dean Jarzabski, Carrie Jarzabski is on tonight, and she's the Dean of First Year Students. And we have Chris Weistepek, and he's the Director of Outreach and Recruitment. And we also have Alyssa Caligiuri, and she is the Assistant Director for First Year Experience. It also happens to be her birthday. So everybody just give her a round of applause through your little
birthday,
window.
Alyssa.
Happy 22nd birthday, Alyssa.
So tonight's session is advising and registration, as I'm sure you're all well aware and excited to hear about. And before we get to that, I wanted to welcome tonight, actually we have 4 of our orientation group leaders on, and I wanted to let them kind of introduce themselves and just say a little bit about what's been happening in their Kodiak classroom this week. I thought maybe that would kind of give you a little bit of window as to what's going on. So why don't we let Liam go first, since he's right up there.
Putting the stress on me. All right. Hello, everybody. I'm Liam Mooney. I'm an orientation group leader. I mostly handle all the incoming pre-pharmacy students. I also handle some other, mostly science majors. I don't think I have anyone outside of that field, to my knowledge. I'm a sophomore pre-pharmacy student. I'm on the wrestling team. I'm a member of the Student Athlete Advisory Committee, which is a club where we basically build our athletic department around good values and improve our athletic department as a whole. I'm also a current peer advising candidate, which is a student mentor that will advise your student during their first school year, and a life skills mentor candidate, which is a student leader that will guide any incoming athletes in their transition, both academically and athletically, also socially, just adjusting to college as a whole. And this week, we had 2 main Zoom calls. On Tuesday night, we had a few of my students come on. We have an activity called SOAR Games every week. This week, we did a scavenger hunt. So my students competed against another one of the OGLs, Allie. Luckily, we destroyed them, so I'm super pumped right now. Please encourage all of your students to go to the SOAR Games. We put them together. They're super fun, and it's just honestly like a good environment. Like, it's a way to like bond and feel more comfortable and like meet people before you go on campus. It's a more of like a business oriented, like the Wednesday Zoom calls. And then on Wednesday, we actually went over a few pieces of information. We went over the early drop off, which is super important. Early drop off is basically going to be a thing where resident students are able to go over and drop off some of their belongings before school starts, where they can schedule that on the housing director. And also, that's not leaving out commuter students. I know some of you guys have commuter students. There's also dates for them where they can go in, fill out an I-9, take an ID photo, and select a locker. So they'll have some information there as well. That's going to be emailed. Those either emailed today or it'll be emailed tomorrow to them. So encourage all your students to check up on their emails. It's super huge. We want to get them excited to be on campus. So just talk to your students and make sure they're coming to all the Zooms and getting all the information, because we're having a great time talking to them.
Who wants to come up next? Susan?
I can go. It won't be as great as Liam's. He stole a lot of thunder, but that's all right. So my name's Caroline Drummond. I'm a junior. I mainly have business students. I actually have all business students. I'm a junior from Connecticut. I work in the campus center. I am an OGL, and I am an America Reads tutor on campus. Liam talks about some things we discussed in our Zooms this week with your students. We also talked about health insurance. So if your student already has health insurance, please make sure that they waive out of it by September 15th, or else they're stuck with that $2,800 health insurance that they may or may not need, depending on if you decide to keep it or not. So just make sure that that is done before September 15th.
All right, I will take it away. Can you hear me? It says my internet is unstable.
You're good, Susan.
Okay, good. So my name is Susan. I am going to be a senior management and leadership major. I have all engineering students because I was actually an engineer my first year. On campus, I'm part of the Campus Activities Board, and I'm part of WNEK, which is our radio club. And I've done a lot of stuff in my past, so I know a lot of different organizations on campus. One thing I was going to touch on, I hope Liam didn't already say it because I didn't get to hear half of his speech, is that the health forms, did he say that? No? Good. Okay. Health forms are due August 1st. They're really important that you get them in. We're still missing a lot from students, and your students need to get that in for them to be able to go to class, to move in, all that sort of stuff. They have to have it to be able to come onto campus in the fall. So that needs to be done by August 1st. And if you don't have a physical for your student within the past year, they can actually get one done by health services on campus if you're local.
My next? Is it me?
Yep, you're next, Jamari.
Okay. Hi, so I'm Jamari James. I'm going to be a junior this year. I'm a forensic biology major, so I have a lot of the forensic chem, forensic bio, health science, and a few like bio and chem majors and stuff. I play football and lacrosse here on campus. I work at the HLC, the print shop, and then I'm an OGL, obviously. And then, what is it, hometown? Oh, I'm from Franklin, Massachusetts. And a lot of the stuff they already went over because it's all the same stuff that we have to go over with our groups. So the health forms and then classes and registration and all that stuff we touched upon this week.
Thanks. So as you can see, not only are they amazing orientation group leaders, but they also have a wealth of experience and resources, and students should feel really comfortable talking to them and asking them questions and kind of looking for, ways to connect on campus. I think they're a really good resource. So now I want to introduce Jessica Hill, and Jessica is the director of the Vanek Family Student Advising Center. Oh, that's me. Hold on. The Vanek Family Student Advising Center, and I also believe that she has her professional advisors, Victor and Sam, on tonight, so she'll introduce them as well, and I'll let her take it away. She's going to do a presentation, and then we'll take questions. So, Jessica, all yours.
Thank you. So welcome everybody this evening. I'm sure everybody's been anticipating the conversation about advising and registration. So I'm just going to share a little bit of information with you all about first our new advising model, which is very exciting. And then I'll just get into a little bit more about what you can expect over the next couple of weeks in regards to advising and registration for students. So first, before I go into it, so yes, my name is Jessica Hill. This is a very new initiative, so I'm very excited to be leading the way in creating our new advising center. The college is really behind supporting student success and really felt that an advising center would enhance student success, so really supported the launching of this new advising center. So with that, I've been able to have a staff of 2 other advisors. So there are university advisors, Samantha and Victor. So we are well underway. So we have already begun the process of doing student registrations and preparing for our meetings with students starting next week. So before I get into that though, I just want to back up and talk a little bit about the advising model. So a lot of this information is actually in the Kodiak page for SOAR. Which I will share that screen in a moment just to make sure you guys can see what the students are actually seeing and the information that we have put out about advising. But essentially with the 4U, it's a 4U comprehensive advising model. So each first year student is going to have a team of 4 advisors. One is going to be the university advisors, which is myself and my staff. They're also going to have a faculty advisor. They're going to have a career advisor as well as a peer advisor. So that's 4 different people. Sounds like a lot. We each play a different role. So the university advisors are the advisors that are actually already assigned to students. So students actually already have their advisor assigned. This is that person that's going to be the student's go-to throughout their 4 years at the university. So this person won't change. The student will always be able to have access to this person. And how we really envision this working is that, university advisors are not faculty, they're not teaching. So our goal is to be available to meet the needs of the students, whether it's just assistance in changing a schedule, whether they need to be connected to a resource. A lot of times first-year students don't even know all the resources available to them. So we're kind of that person that's going to point them in the right direction and make sure that they are connected to the resources that we have to offer at the institution. All right. Then you have your faculty advisor. So the faculty advisor is the person that's going to be the discipline-specific advisor. So when you think about it, each student comes into the university with a specific major. We want to make sure that each student is taking the appropriate courses that they need so they can stay on track to on-time graduation. So the faculty advisor is that person that's providing that academic specific advising, ensuring that students are aware of and know what courses that they need to take each semester. All right. They can also help connect students with internships. I mean, there are definitely a wealth of information regarding the field and, employment. They have that experience. And a lot of times, in a lot of cases, the student's faculty advisor will be a part of their first year seminar class, which is pretty cool. The career advisor we do have a career services office, and each college has a career advisor. So we have the 3 colleges for undergraduate, the College of Business, the College of Arts and Sciences, and we have the College of Engineering. So each of those colleges have a career advisor that are assigned to that college. So that means, your student is going to have a career advisor that they can go to get assistance when, it's time to start looking at internship opportunities, when they're needing help with creating their resume, updating their resume so that they can be competitive for an internship, when they need help with, career exploration. So a lot of times, and what we've seen and what we've gathered from some of our survey feedback, students come into the institution, some are not sure what they want to do. Some are in a major, but still aren't certain if that's really the career they want. So again, the Career Services Office will provide that opportunity for students to take self-assessments and inventories to help explore interests, what their values are, what might be a good career fit. And then we have the peer advisors. So the peer advisors are the students. The cool thing about peer advisors is they've walked in the shoes of students more recently than professional staff have. So the peer advisors are going to really assist students with getting connected, navigating the campus. They're going to help them get engaged, especially as you look at all the different opportunities that the college has to offer, different clubs, different fairs that will be going on and activities that will be going on campus. That peer advisor is really going to be a go-to person. And I find that the peer advisors are really critical to this model because they're probably going to be the ones that are going to do a lot of that liaison work, really connecting the student with the other 3 people that are a part of this model. All right. So that's kind of an overview of what the advising model is. I'll kind of just go through everything and then I'll leave the end open for questions. So what I'm going to do is just, Laura, do I have the screen so I can share my screen? Let me just see if I do.
I'm going to do it right now.
Okay.
All right, see if you can do it now.
Yes, I can. Okay, thank you. All right, so hopefully everybody can see the screen.
Yes,
so this is, you can, okay. So this is the Roaring to Soar 2020 page, and I have it in the student view so you can actually see it from the student perspective. So what you'll notice, so this is like the main page right here. So we just recently put up an advising and registration video. I'll get to this in a minute, but I just wanted to show you the advising page. So, along the left side, you can see all the different tabs that a student can go into. where there's updated information, and you may have heard this before, but where you see the yellow where there's updated information, that means, you know, a student probably wants to go in here because there's some new information for them to access. So I'm just gonna click on the advising page. And what you'll see on the advising page, so this has been up since the beginning for quite some time now. So there was, you know, an introduction to the advising center, me doing an introductory video. So if you haven't had a chance to look at any of this stuff, I encourage you to do so. More recently, we're working on getting some information up from the actual career advisors. So, you know, for each college, like I said, there is a career advisor. So they worked on creating some video content to put up on the advising page. And then I just briefly discussed the 4U advising model, but if you really wanted to go hear more information, there's actually a presentation that you could view, so you can hear a little bit more at your own speed and during your own time about the 4U comprehensive advising model. And I just want to share these last two items, which were important because this was really a part of the steps. Like, we are really encouraging students prior to the registration period, you know, advising and registration, to complete the college student inventory and the pre-registration survey. So again, there's a video accompanying each of these. There was a due date of July 1st. Students did receive an email letting them know that this information was up. So we got a good amount of students to respond. We probably got about 600 students that have responded, which is pretty good. But, you know, this could just be a reminder, if your student has not done this, that they should come on this page and check it out and make sure they've completed everything here. The last thing I'll just say is at the bottom, there is an FAQs that was up just in case. I know there were a lot of questions about like registration and when was everything gonna happen. So we did create an FAQ just to answer some of the questions that students and parents might have about advising. You know, how do I know who my advisor is? When will I be able to meet with an advisor to talk about my schedule? So that information is here as well. So again, during your free time, if you really wanted to get some more information, definitely visit our advising page because you'll find the information you need there. So now I'm just going to go to the main page. So this is kind of moving into that next conversation to talk about advising and registration. So there is an introductory video from Dean Jarzabski. But what we did is when we sent out appointment reminders, so we sent out appointment schedules July 13th. So this past Monday, we sent out an email to students giving them options for an appointment. In the confirmation and in the email we sent out, we had a couple of tasks that we wanted the students to complete. So one of them was making sure that they understood the 4U comprehensive advising model. And the other one was to get familiar with their curriculum, especially as a first-year student. So what we did is we actually created curriculum. So each student, regardless of their major, they should be able to see a curriculum sheet up that kind of explains what their first-year curriculum would be. A couple of things to clarify. So College of Business and College of Engineering have a pretty, regardless of the major, the first year curriculum is consistent and the same. So like College of Business, whether you're a marketing or whether you're a management major, that first year, for the most part, you're taking the same courses. It gets a little bit different when you get into the accounting major. So it can change a little bit in pharmaceutical business, but for the most part, the curricula are the same. And then for College of Engineering, again, everybody's really following that first year curriculum, taking the same courses regardless of what, engineering specific major that they're in. When you get into arts and sciences, there's a lot of different majors within that. So there's where you get a lot more different first year curriculum sheets just because the first year curriculum is very different for the different majors. What I'm gonna do is just quickly show you a sheet just so you know what it looks like. And I would encourage you to ask your student if they've seen it yet. And if not, they should look at it before their advising appointment. So if I'm just gonna click on engineering. So what you'll see is there's some brief information about, the common curriculum, and the assistant dean's information is on there. What you'll also see on here is all the majors that fall under engineering. And then you'll see to the left side here, the semester 1 and semester 2 courses that are offered, all right? What you'll note is we really tried to make notes on here so students understood, like for honor students, their course would be different, even though it's computer, for instance, a computer programming, which is in the second semester. For honor student, that course number is going to be a little bit different, but the same course. We also are taking into account like what kind of transfer credit, any type of AP scores that are coming in from the students, either if they've done dual enrollment, if they've attended a college and they're transferring credit in, kind of that could change the way their first semester might look as far as course scheduling. Okay. So again, this is really just to help the student really have a good idea so that when they do see their schedule, it will look pretty similar to this. I mean, there may be some difference, again, as I said, depending on what kind of transfer credits they're bringing in dual enrollment classes. But for the most part, this is what a first year, first semester should expect their schedule to look like, okay? Okay, so I'm going to show you one more just so we can get a little variety here. So we'll just go to the criminal justice. Again, it's going to have, this has, some information in it. And this is where you get into some, you can see the scheduling here, like the courses, you've got some, math could be, sorry, I'm admitting people into the meeting. So, your math course, there's some options here where you see the X's kind of helping them figure out how to read this. Some of the courses that are here are just core courses that are required that they're going to have to take. But again, so you'll see there is a little bit of flexibility, but for the most part with the curriculums, it's pretty structured. The one thing that we did do is where you see like there's global cultures perspective in the semester 2. You can see there's a historical perspective. So we also took into account as classes became full, what interest students had. So the pre-registration survey really helped us as we, started the scheduling, as students indicated, what additional elective courses they would be interested in taking. That kind of helped us create the student schedule. Okay. So the other thing I just want to quickly say is, as we look at the course and registration, courses are being offered in different ways. A lot of, the college being very responsive and making sure, we're adhering to social distancing in the classroom. So there are different methods and ways that courses are being offered. So, we've got most of the courses are on the ground for the most part. On the ground, students will be in a class. We do have some courses that are hybrid, which means, one day a student may be in class, the next day they may be doing some coursework online. And then there are, a few online options where it's either, synchronous, which means the course is going to be online, but it's going to be taught at a specific time. And then we have asynchronous classes as well, where the course will be online, but there's not specific class meeting time. So that's just kind of how the course scheduling works. Okay, so now I'm going to stop talking. And and I don't know if anybody else wants to add anything, but I'm just going to open the floor up at this time for questions. Is that fine, Laura?
Sounds good.
Okay.
So you'll want to use the chat feature for questions, and then we'll just we'll scroll through them.
If I could, Jess, I'm just going to say a few things while the questions come in, then maybe you all can make a list of what you see. There's a few things I just wanted to say that are housekeeping related to advising. So the first thing is that, with the pandemic, if any of you had students who were taking AP, you probably all had them pulling their hair out trying to figure out how to take the AP exams. We just started getting the AP scores in at the university today. So Chris kind of verified that. Your students probably also started to get their scores. They had to indicate that they wanted the scores sent to us. So we've got maybe 70 or so scores so far, but if your student did not send their scores to our institution and you know that they earned AP credit, please encourage them to do that as soon as possible. That will affect, our ability to help them to find the right courses and registration. The other thing is a number of students take like high school to college credit, right? So they're able to take a course at like, another institution, like say, UConn or something, and get college level credit. And a lot of times they think because it showed up on their high school transcript that that's enough, but we actually need the transcripts from the university that they earn the credit in the course for, sent directly to the admissions office so that we can evaluate it and put up the transfer credit. So there's a number of students for whom we've gotten those credits, and there's others who've indicated in their registration surveys that they filled out that they plan on having credit, but we haven't yet seen it. I guess the other thing I would say about that is that sometimes how the credits apply are not how the students thought they would. So for AP, they have to score a certain score on the AP exam for the credit to count in certain courses. So I think, Chris, correct me if I'm wrong, but those scores may be, is that something that's available on the admissions page where they can see what the equates are? Or is that something that we just work on with them individually?
It's usually worked on individually.
Yeah, but typically they have to get at least a 3 or higher on their AP exams to get credit. And in certain courses, certain exams, they have to get a 4 for it to count. I think like in history, they have to get a 4 for it to count as a history. So, we have those and we get those when they come in, and that's what determines the credit. The other thing I wanted to talk about a little bit was self-service. So maybe Jess, I was trying to think, actually maybe one of the OGLs might feel comfortable sharing their screen so we could show self-service if parents hadn't seen it. If your student has made you a proxy, you should be able to see self-service. There's multiple tabs there where they access their billing information. I think I've said it before, but billing at the university is based on credit. So when you go into the financial tab, you might be able to see actually that they're registered for 12 or more credits, and that is kind of, putting them in as a full-time student and affecting your bill. Starting last week into the next couple weeks as we're working on registering your student, if you log in real time, you might see that fluctuates for a half a second, while we're trying to get the right courses put in there. But this is self-service is what the orientation group leaders are going to be teaching your students more how to use, because this is where they'll be able to actually see their course schedules under the advising tab, plan out their courses for the spring semester, and learn how to change their schedule in any way with us, add, drop, what have you. I guess the one thing I would say in this year, typically we have a lot more flexibility in helping students to get the ideal schedule in terms of, I'm not a morning person, I prefer not to have an 8 a.m. class, those kinds of things. This year with the pandemic, because we're working so hard to have more of our classes on the ground than ever, we have limited capacity in terms of flexibility and schedule. So we're working hard, and your student will certainly have a seat in the courses that they need in their curriculum, as outlined really nicely in those curriculum sheets that Jess has shared. But they may be a little sad if they were looking forward to college as a time to sleep in after having to get up early for high school, because we might not be able to, shift around the timing of their classes as much as they would like. So, we encourage, you to have them certainly share their concerns with their university advisor as best we can. We'll try to help them to find the right match, but there's not as much flexibility this year as we would normally have.
Dean J, Susan is ready to show her screen if you want to.
Perfect. Yeah, Susan, could you share it?
So this is my self-service that I have up right now.
So if you were going to go into build a fall schedule, where would you go with all these tabs?
So I normally go over here and you go to academics student planning. And I go to plan and schedule for my schedule, or if I want to check like my degree progress, I go on my progress. My fall. This is what it looks like with all my classes registered in the fall. And there's also a timeline which shows out like my whole, like all 4 years at WNE.
Perfect. So if you could just scroll up for a little bit so we can see the tippity top. So next to plan your degree and schedule your courses, there's like a little box that says search for courses. That's where students can search for particular courses to see what sections are available and what options are available to them. And then they would select the course they're interested in and put it on their plan. Because they're freshmen in their first semester, we do this for them. So we will kind of put all the courses that they need on their plan. That's a lot of what Sam and Victor, who are on the call, have been doing for the last week or so. I think they probably have cramps in their hands from typing away and doing that. And then this is also where they'll be able to go in, see their schedule, and work with us with the OGL to learn a little bit about how they would manipulate that and how they would tell where the classes are meeting and how to buy their books and those kinds of things. So
Jay, while we're on this, can I just ask, we have a parent question that says when they're in self-service right now, they can only see financial information. So do you want to say a little bit about what they can't see?
Yeah, we're evil, so we block them from seeing what we're doing until it's time. So I think there's like 75 freshmen who are taking summer courses, and those sneaky little devils figured out they could get in there and start planning. And they planned like all kinds of wacky stuff for themselves, like 400 level courses, which like I would not want to take. So we were like, no. So we have something called PERC, which is a form where we can put holds on students. And so we're basically putting from those curriculum sheets in for them the courses that we know they need to take, and looking closely at their registration surveys to try to address some of their preferences that they've indicated. And we're kind of building it for them. So when they go in on Monday, if they're business or engineering, if they have an advising appointment, say Monday at 9 a.m. in a Zoom, that morning they're going to be able to see that tab. It will show up. And we'll explain that to them in the first 30 minutes of their session, how to find it. Then they'll be able to go in and see this. And this is what the OGLs will do in the last 30 minutes, is kind of take them through self-service and show them, like if they click into the BIS 31201, that's where they could see or the meeting information, where the class is meeting, what books they would need for the course, the materials. I love having Ivana who's doing it as I'm talking. Nice work, Susan. So we'll kind of walk them through those pieces. So this is sort of like the planning page, shows them their fall schedule, tells them where they're going. The other piece that's really good about self-service is that if they had transfer credit or AP credit that came in, or they just want to see like all the courses they need to take to graduate, that's when Susan was referring to the My Progress tab. It can be really overwhelming. It's overwhelming for me to look at, honestly, because it shows every single option of every single requirement you'd have to take before you can graduate. But it also shows you where your transfer credits have applied. So if they've already got an AP credit or high school or college credit, or they transferred in some credits, they're going to show up under their My Progress tab in self-service as well. So I just wanted to show you a little bit about it. If you're a proxy, you're in self-service and you can see the financial tabs. We're going to teach them how to use this. A lot of what I've been following you all on Facebook. Some of you are making me proud. Some of you I'm like, oh geez, you guys, we got to let them go. We got to let them get ready for college. But we need to teach them how to navigate so they can kind of own the process on their own. And I guess that would be the last note that I would say is these Zoom sessions that they're going to go into on Monday for advising, they're an hour long, and it's a small group advising session. So like Victor is going to have 4 students he's working with that are all the same major. So hypothetically, he's working with all accounting majors on Monday. So they're going to get to meet a couple other accounting majors. He's going to talk to them a little bit about the discipline, and then they're going to go in one-on-one breakout rooms with like a Susan or a Carolyn or, you know, Liam, Jamari, and they're going to explain to them one-on-one how to use self-service, how to read their schedule, and help them make any changes or address any issues. So I think sometimes parents are hoping to participate in that process, and we're going to strongly encourage you not to do that, because that might be real embarrassing for them if they're the only one who has a guest with them on the advising call. That said, I know Jess is going to address some of your questions now. We are happy to talk to you individually and walk you through any questions that you may have about why your student is in a particular course or why they're not in a particular course after the fact, for sure, or to conference with all of you together collectively if there's a problem or concern after the advising sessions. We're going to appreciate your patience because we're trying to, we have 821, I think, today, Chris, deposited new students, freshmen and transfer. I don't know, could have varied.
820.
820. So we are trying to work with everyone over 2 weeks to get everyone's schedules confirmed. And then we're going to take a deep breath the first week of August, and then starting August 10th, we'll be working with anybody who needs late registration or schedule changes or has questions. And so we're going to appreciate your support in that. Lara, as always, is going to woman the phones. She's going to, you know, address any questions, schedule appointments to resolve any questions. But that's sort of our process. So that's, you know, Jess knows by now. She's only worked with me for a few months, but that I always have something to say about everything. So I had to share my 2 cents. So I'll stop, turn it over. I think by now you've had a chance to read some of the questions, Jess, so take it away.
Let me get myself off mute. Okay. Okay, so let me just start from the top here. So there was a question about finding out whether the course was hybrid, online, or on the ground. So typically on the student's schedule, there's notes on there that would indicate what the class is, whether it's a hybrid, online, or in person. Lecture is usually what it will say if it means it's going to be like on campus, and then there will be a note also that would say online, and then it would also say hybrid. So yes, there would be specific information on the schedule so that the student would know what the modality of his or her class would be. There was a question about the advising appointment being later. So like someone has a July 31st. So the advising appointment does not dictate when the student registers. So just so you know, like all students are getting a fair shot at getting classes, you know, the classes that they want. The advising appointment has nothing to do with registration. The advising appointment is really the time where the student is going to meet with their advisor as well as the student leaders, as Carrie had said. But by that point, their schedule will have already been created. So really during that advising appointment, they're going to be able to have a chance to go into self-service and look at their schedule. You know, there may be the possibility to make a small change. It may be very difficult, but starting the week of August 10th is when we'd be having individual appointments with students. So we welcome students, you know, to make appointments with their advisor in case they want to, you know, discuss their schedule. If they want to make any changes to their schedule, you know, we'll do our best to accommodate their needs.
Jess, I would just add to that, if you know, if you're sitting with your student, and I think we might be able to, Laura, get those curriculum sheets up on the parent website maybe so that parents can see it. It's also, if you just research the university catalog on the website, and maybe Chris or someone can help me by putting the link in, you can see the curriculums in terms of what every student has to take semester by discipline. For most freshmen, 4 of their 5 classes are prescribed. They all have to take a math course, and it varies depending on their discipline. They all have to take English comp, unless for some reason, again, they have transfer or AP credit for that English composition. They all have to take a first-year seminar course, which is typically where they meet their faculty advisor, and their peer advisor assists in that course. And it's an introduction to college coupled with an introduction to their discipline, typically. Across the colleges. And then their last course, the 4th course, is an introduction to the major. So In arts and sciences, if they're a criminal justice major, they would take CJ 101. If they were a psychology major, they would take Psych 101. So the 4 courses are pretty prescribed. I would say that probably in about 60 to 70% of the majors, the 5th course is also. So if they're a science major, if they're an engineering major, for the most part, even in business, it's pretty set. Their 5th course would be like an economics course. In engineering, they're taking physics. So it's pretty well laid out. It's really in the humanities side of the arts and sciences where the 5th course has a lot of choice. And that's where we are looking at their registration surveys and trying to put in the course that they said they were interested in. So if they said they were interested in the arts, like we're going to see what we have available for art that fits nicely into their schedule. And then that's where they can have some discussion with us. So I don't want you to feel like their schedule is really locked in. But for the most part, it's not. For most of them, if they're a decided student, it's pretty prescribed in terms of what they have to take to stay on sequence to make sure they graduate in 8 semesters. For the exploratory students, I should say that those students who are completely undecided, they're meeting one-on-one with their advisors, and there'll be a lot more dialogue in terms of, what they're thinking about, what their interests are in that first advising session to kind of help to build that out. But everybody, we part of the fun of being the dean and the director, right, Jess, is we get to count seats to make sure we have enough seats for students. And as we've kind of moved things around in the upper class areas and to ensure that most of the 100 level courses are on the ground, we've really had to count every single student's, major and what they would need to make sure that it's going to be flexible. So things might look full, but we still are in a place where we can kind of negotiate some things a bit for students who really need it. So that's just sort of my 2 cents on that. Your student if you're savvy, they might be able to see some of what they are pre-registered for through the billing option, but we're going to walk them through it in their advising appointments. And so it really doesn't matter if they're the 20th or the 31st. We simply kind of grouped the students by their majors, so it was a little bit easier to get everyone to kind of interact with their peers in their discipline and understand a little bit more about the curriculum, but to make sure that we could move everyone through in a timely manner so that you could order books and get them settled. So in a non-pandemic year, man, this looks a lot different. We would have had folks registered probably mid-June to mid-July. And just to give you a sense, AP scores are normally here by the 4th of July. So everything is just delayed. So we're trying to have fun with it in our office, roll with the punches. And we're going to, be as patient, as supportive as we can be with your students so they feel good about what they're taking.
Okay, we have a question. When can a student declare a minor, and can a student also have their major and a double minor?
That's my favorite, Jess. We hear that. I hear a lot from students. They come in, some of the students really got their stuff together. I mean, I did not know what I was doing when I was 18, but they're like, I want a double major, double minor. I'm going to law school after that. And I'm like, whoa, okay. So they don't really, there's no rush to sort of declare those kinds of things, right, Jess? I mean, that's the kind of opportunity that we're going to encourage them to have discussions with their faculty advisors in mid-fall. So course registration for the spring semester, those conversations usually start happening in October, and the students start registering in early November. And the reason I sort of push that off a little bit too is that, again, for the most part, they're not taking steps towards that in semester 1. And you won't be happy when I say this, but a number of students, over 50% of students, will change their major over the time that they're at the institution. So it's good to kind of let them, it's good that they're thinking and planning, and we're going to listen to them and support them in that. But we want to make sure they have a taste of the academics before they kind of dive in. In the catalog, they can search at the back of the catalog. There's a list of all the minors and what the requirements are. And they really can't start moving towards most of that anyways until they get the introductory 100 level courses done. And so it's also just a really preliminary conversation at this point. If they want a double major, that's something, if they didn't declare it in admissions, they really do want to share with us, because in some instances there are some implications for their first semester scheduling. But man, these students have it together. They're really planning a lot.
The double major too, Kara, just let you know they usually have to declare when they're here, because they can only choose one with us in admissions. Because there's some of them that work well, like sport management, marketing and finance. Like there's programs that do work better than others when it comes to double majors. And I don't know if should we talk about the integrated liberal studies program, but that's a whole nother, that's opening up the door to many opportunities. So I don't want to overwhelm them.
Yeah.
It might be a good idea to just talk a little bit while we're talking about advising, to talk about the peer advisor role, because I don't know that we've necessarily talked about that a lot. And I know that's another sort of area of support and a way to be able to ask questions and to, have that relationship. So I thought maybe it might be a nice moment to just talk about that too.
Do you want a student to share, or are you wanting me to speak about it? I didn't know who. Was that your, I guess the student, if there is a peer advisor on, you can speak after, but essentially when we look at the, the model, it's that 4-tier model. The peer advisor is that student who's really helping students adjust. A lot of times, they may be the ones that are helping them as they're, trying to figure out, self-service. They have this experience. They're the students who are helping them navigate campus and getting them connected. I think it's especially important, when the student first comes to campus, like, that first transition, that first 3 weeks of school are kind of like that tough period where they're just getting used to not being home. So having another student that they can look up to, I think, sometimes adults, obviously play their role, but at other times, they don't want to talk to an adult. They want to talk to a student. So I find that's the real value in this, is that a student has another peer that they can really go to help them with questions that they have. And then that peer advisor can also serve, like I said, as that liaison to the other offices, like the university advisor. Like there are times where maybe the university advisor needs to be more involved, in the conversations with the students, or maybe it's, the peer advisor is getting a lot of questions from a student about internships, and they're going to connect them to their career advisor. So I feel they definitely play that pivotal role. I don't know if there's any peer advisors on the line that would like to share their experience doing that. I'm not sure who.
I think too. Oh, go ahead, Liam.
I'm not a peer advisor yet, but I'm a current candidate right now. Basically, the role functions as someone that's more of like a reachable and like personable, like less daunting person to talk to, because a lot of times some students are a little afraid to, go into an office and speak to an adult because they're 18 years old. Like that's a lot for them. So it's kind of a bridge. It's a student that's an upperclassman that kind of like transitions them through a year, deals with everything that they're concerned with. So if they come to them like, I'm having roommate issues, that peer advisor is that kind of person who would help them work through that and reach the people that they need to deal with that issue. They don't hold the student's hand because they're trying to foster independence and, make the student more, independent from rather than high school. But they're that lifeline that is really useful for a lot of students, for sure.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, and I think just to add on to that is that the peer advisors go through spring training, so they're candidates like Liam was, and then they also come back about a little less than 2 weeks early to kind of go through training. They do over 100 hours, so they're really knowledgeable. They had to take an exam during all this pandemic, and so they need to know everything from resources to curriculums to, you know, student development theory. So they're really knowledgeable, and they just want to be that support for your student, whether it's academics, social, anything that they're going through, and being that personal referral. So they're a great group of students. And then you all will actually have the opportunity to Zoom with your student's peer advisor come August, middle of August. So you'll be getting some notifications from them. So they'll introduce themselves, what their role is, how to contact them, what they can do for your student. And then they will Zoom with their students before they come to campus on opening day, and they're going to get information, but they also have, the student has the opportunity to meet with them 3 times over that course of that weekend. So.
Okay. All right. To shift gears, I do see a question regarding the temporary registration hold. So yes, there were quite a few questions about that. So essentially, the temporary registration hold was really put in place to prevent students from being able to make any changes to their schedule. So when you're talking about the catalog, no, they would not be able to access the catalogs through their self-service account. However, there is a website, like there is an online catalog where, you know, if a student knows their major, they could still do some research, look at their major, get information about their major, look at the curriculum. And there's also a course catalog online. So even though a student isn't necessarily going through their self-service account, that information is still available online on the website. Let's see. There is a question about the health form. How do I confirm the health form has been received by the college? I'm assuming that would be through the health services office. I don't manage that part, but the health services office would be gathering that information, the forms and whatnot, and any, you know, specific questions could be directed directly to the health services office. Okay, I think that was answered. Okay.
I saw a question about when someone will receive an advisor appointment. So the student was sent an email to their personal email account this week on Monday, inviting them to sign up for an advising time. So when they went in, they would only see the appointments that were available to them based on their major and who their advisor is. And so they could pick from those appointments, and they would have received a message saying that their appointment was confirmed, I believe. So we had a few students who called us and said they didn't get the emails, but we can see when they open them, how they open them, like that it's an iPhone. And so, you know, we've been kind of working through that with them. Also, some of the students aren't checking that account anymore, only checking their Western New England account. So if your student did not get an email on Monday, then there's an issue, and they should call us. And Jess or myself or Chris in admissions, like, we can resend them the email to the email address they're checking so they can sign up for an appointment. So, and we recognize, I've said this a couple times, it's in my lovely video, that, you know, some of these students are really lucky. They were able to get jobs. They're busy this summer. So the times that are available might not work for them. And, you know, we're sorry about that. We're really hoping that folks can shift their schedules around to make one of the appointment times work. If they can't, we're happy to schedule them an appointment beginning on August 10th to walk them through their course schedule and answer any questions they have. So we're really hoping folks can make those times in the next 2 weeks. There was also a question about, you know, so the math department and the English department make recommendations about placements this year based on the students' high school transcripts, and if they sent us test scores and how they answered some questions on a survey. And so they're going to get a recommendation. For the most part, in something like the sciences or engineering, students start in calculus so that they can stay on sequence and move forward. You can't take physics, for example, without having had pre-calculus. So there's some limiters there. So that's how we usually load the students, is based on those recommendations. If your student doesn't feel comfortable because of the pandemic and, you know, their senior year, and they really wish that they could, you know, brush up, and they want to start in, you know, a pre-course, pre-calculus, or a different course, we 100% will support them in that. Full disclosure, I will say that will most likely mean that they have to look ahead to some summer work to get back on sequence to graduate in the 4 years, 8 semesters. But you know, I always want to support students in being successful and starting off positively and feeling good about their experience, rather than starting off kind of over their head and not ready, and getting discouraged. So they should share that with us. So really encourage them to talk to us during those appointments, because if we don't know, we can't address it. The other issue I saw that I kind of responded to was regarding like athletics, or if someone commutes, or if they're working or what have you. We do the best we can with regard to schedules, but particularly for those students in the sciences and in engineering, where they have 2 labs that are 3-hour labs, it gets really challenging to build schedules that allow for that. So for the most part, we know when the coaches would prefer that students be free, and we try to do the best we can with that. That being said, in terms of athletics in particular, they're students first, and the coaches really support wholeheartedly that philosophy. So if there's some conflicts, generally they're going to work with the students around that. So again, you know, these are individual case by case, and so the student should talk to us about it, and we'll see what we can do. We're at 8 o'clock, right, Laura? Do we have any other questions coming in?
Do you want to just say something about the 2 town halls and about health services next week?
Well, you can. You just did. Yay, good job, Laura.
Well, next week we have Kathy Reed, who's the Director of Health Services, and she is entertaining, so as entertaining as COVID can be. I suppose she will do her best. And I think she'll have some important updates and announcements that she will provide. So that's next week at 7 o'clock. And then there are 2 town halls where you're invited to come and hear the latest information and to, I think, ask questions, yes? And those are on the 27th and the 29th, if I'm not mistaken about my dates. So I posted something earlier this week about that, and I'll post it again. Any other upcoming events?
Yeah, I would say, so the town halls for everyone in the university community, upperclassmen and new students, just to be clear. And Brian Gross, who's the VP for Enrollment Management, and Dean Hart-Steffes, who's the Dean of Students, Vice President for Student Affairs, are going to primarily be the lead on those. Myself, Kathy Reed in Health Services, correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, is counseling. There's like a couple other folks who are jumping in on that to represent their areas. We'll be available to talk a little bit about, you know, the current state of affairs, and then to take any questions. So I would encourage you, if you haven't already, to, if you go to the COVID part of the university's website, that's where all the most recent updates are. And Dr. Caprio had a pretty lengthy piece that he put out about our reopening plans. And so that's there for you to take a look at. And will probably be a lot of what we're kind of discussing in the more open forum. Athletics will also be represented on that Zoom. I knew I was missing an office. A number of university staff and faculty will also be on the call as well if various questions come up. So that'd be a great thing for you to participate in, or to, you know, encourage your student to sit with you to participate in. So I would definitely do that. And most people don't bring cocktails to these Zooms I'm seeing, but I'm just saying that Kathy, she's going to be pretty blunt. She's going to put it all out there. You may want to have your cocktail handy. She likes to like make it real in terms of what college is about for your students and what she sees in health services. So, you know.
I was trying to be polite, but you hit it on the head.
Yeah. You really did, Carrie. Let's just say, if it was the on-campus orientation, she is the most popular person at the end of the day.
She is indeed.
You either love her or you're
You're
you
both.
yeah, 100%. Yeah.
All right. So if there are no more questions, we'll stay on for a couple more minutes. You're free to ask your individual questions with us. And if not, we'll say goodnight and we'll see you next week for health services. And again, be in touch if you have questions. Call the first year office, direct message, all of those ways to connect. And we're here for you. So.
I would say I appreciate the positivity and the support that I see amongst each other in the parent Facebook group. If you have an individual concern or you see someone who might have one, directing them to our office is always the best. If we don't know there's an issue, we can't address the issue. And I'll just speak for myself personally. I have 3 kids. I have a pretty robust, set of things I'm working on. And if there's questions that are posted in comments, like we don't necessarily check every single comment. So if there's anything that's really troubling or bothering you, or you have a question you don't feel was answered, calling our office at 413-782-1312 is the very best way to get an immediate response. The other thing I'll just say is that your students have lots of information that's been shared with them that they are maybe not fully accessing. So sometimes we find when we have folks reach out to us and we talk to the student that they indeed have been getting some text messages from their OGLs and they just haven't participated, or that they're busy, or that they missed that email. So, just saying that there's a lot of information, as you could see Jess share in that Kodiak classroom, and we're going to deactivate it at the end of the month to start transitioning them to get ready for opening day. And so really encouraging them to take a look at that classroom. It's one step in getting ready for college, because all their faculty are going to have classrooms like that. They're going to get a syllabus. They're going to have to learn how to find and navigate, through some information on their own. And, it's important. It's an important first step. So, but we appreciate your support. We appreciate you helping each other out. It's always nice to see when another parent answers the question before Laura can get to it.
I just wanted to thank Jessica for coming on tonight, and Victor and Sam and the OGLs. I thought it was a great session, and a recording of the session will be available in the next couple of days. It takes a little longer than we thought to kind of upload those recordings, so be patient, and I will definitely announce when it's up, so you'll see it then. Good night, everybody.